You're listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I'm your host, Jay Pryor. This isn't your usual gender reveal party. There will be no baby sex parts. This is the real reveal, where we reveal gender through stories of brave humans willing to share their lived experience. Enjoy the listening. I sure enjoy making it. Welcome back to the Gender Reveal Party. I'm your host, Jay Pryor, and I'm really excited for this conversation. Hi, Cal Cates.
Hello, Jay Pryor. So
It's
good
so
to see
nice
you.
to have you here. I know, I can't believe, like I said, we were just talking, I don't remember, 20 some plus years. It's been a
Easily.
million years. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we knew each other in the DC area.
Yep.
And back then, your gender identity, right, was
I didn't have
I
one.
didn't have
You
one.
know, like it wasn't a thing.
Well, it was interesting because I always related to you like a butch, but then I always felt like I used to have a story about you that like either you didn't like me or there was something going on, because I used to have a story of you like you were a butch, so like, hey, that's a butch, and then I'd be like, yeah, I don't
That's
know
so
what that's
funny.
if it was like you didn't relate to yourself that way, or it was I felt like I was might be because sometimes it was offensive to people to be woman identified and then be seen as a butch, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially back
totally.
then, and not in the 2000s as much, but in the 90s it was like you could get really,
For sure.
you'd have a young butch punch you for calling him a butch.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
Isn't that funny?
definitely. Yeah. And they could punch hard, butches. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, the other thing I want to share with you is because we'll talk about this, but you're a healer, right? And
Yep.
so my first ever massage therapy experience was with you.
Uh-huh.
And I had been working out for the first time, and I did something to myself, and I hurt my psoas.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you, people, this human climbed into me.
It's true. It was quite intimate.
I
Yes.
mean, you put your hand inside of me, but from
Oh,
my belly. It
yes.
was like, I never hurt. It hurt so bad, but my God, the
Oh,
relief afterwards was so intense. It was like, oh shit, that's what you do.
yeah. Not to everybody, no, but
But I
yeah.
did, you know, in my world, a massage therapist was just gonna make me feel good and da 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 da. I was
Yes.
like, oh wow, this is a different thing. And I learned
Yeah.
about massage therapy from you around that. So thanks for healing me and thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for trusting me.
And
Yeah.
so tell us a story a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny that you say that because I mean, now, I don't know. Let's see. So I moved to DC in temporarily in 1999. And
Yeah.
I knew I was gay at that point, and I knew that like I didn't fit lady, but I I didn't really have like a career path, and I didn't really like the idea that I would seek out top surgery or hormones or like, you know, my parents were not at all on board with me being gay. And then when I cut all my hair off and sort of started to be more masculine in my presentation, that just made it worse. And I mean, I mean, even at 45, almost 46, like I feel like it still matters to me much more than I want it to, that my parents are like, they're trying, but man, they
Yeah.
there is not, they love me. I don't
Yeah.
question that, but it's
Right.
real hard for them to get all this.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have the money. I didn't have the self advocacy skills, and
Mhm.
I was just busy like being a stupid 20-year-old, and like I was like, shit, I don't know how to do any of this and
Mhm.
life. And
Mhm.
so, but it's funny that you say that you thought I didn't like you, because I am guessing from this place that I am now that I remember like you having surgery and you starting to take hormones and me being like, huh, and probably being like, well, fuck, I want to do that, like,
Right.
but I
That's
don't even
kind of
know how
right.
I would go about that. And so I was like, just I need you to just go away from me. That's my guess, because I think of you very fondly, and like when you reached out to me about this, I was like, oh, Jay, I totally want to talk to them. um but I did what probably a lot of people do. So I didn't even know I was even gay until, and gay and gender, obviously very different things, but like,
Right.
I didn't even know I was gay until like my lips were on another woman's lips. And I was like, oh, that makes so much
Same.
sense.
Yes.
Holy shit. I need to
Right.
know. Now I need to go back and like, it was like this reverse film of my life where I was like, oh,
Yep.
there's a sign I missed and there's a sign I missed. And I was recently last week, one of my friends is a professor in a medical school and she does a ton of like teaching her med students about cultural safety and how like you can't how to not mess up. You need to learn how to mess up gracefully. You need to learn how to be curious and present. And like, here's some stuff that's knowable, but here's how you get good at like helping people feel like you see them and care about them. And
Right.
so I was on this panel of people along varying spectrums of gender. And we were just talking about like how we got where we are. And I was thinking about, you kind of forget, or at least I'll just speaking for myself, I forget the shit that I like dealt with, and that I knew from a very young age that I never felt exactly like I was in the wrong body. Like I don't know that I would say I fit textbook gender dysphoria exactly, but
Same.
I definitely didn't fit what I now know are gender roles. And I
Right.
wanted to play football, I wanted to be in Boy Scouts, but I got very, very clear, you know, I try to be really careful that like I have heard horrible stories about things that people's parents and families do to them. I didn't
Right.
have any of that. I
Right.
just didn't have support. I
Right.
didn't have anybody saying, "Oh, you want to do that? Okay, I don't know. Let's buy you a suit instead of a
Right.
dress." Like it was like,
Exactly.
"No,
We
you're
didn't have a
wearing a
choice.
fucking
I didn't have a
dress."
choice.
No, there's
If you'd have
right.
given me a choice, I'd have been like, suit,
Totally.
suit, suit every time.
Every time. And
Yeah.
my mom took me to the Clinique counter when I was 12 and like,
Oh,
got
wow.
me fitted for
Yeah.
makeup, literally fitted for makeup. What am I, like a Corvette? She took me and did the things, right? And the lady gave me the
Right.
stuff.
Right.
And it, I got Cabbage Patch dolls and I got all the stuff that girls are supposed to get, but I played soccer, I played like, and not that you have to be gay to play a sport, but everything about how I wanted to be in the world fit more into the male, what was allowed for males.
Right.
But I had an
Same.
older brother and, my given name is Lauren and he would call me Lawrence and make fun of me and I would steal his clothes and like, just we had this weird rivalry where like again, it wasn't okay to be who I was.
Hmm.
Um but I really had a very again, in my adulthood, I've done a bunch of like social justice work and understanding implicit bias and the cognitive aspects of that and like understanding that I had a lot of like sort of anti-gay, anti like I'm I'm an ableist, I'm a white supremacist, I'm a I culture totally worked on me, right? And so I didn't I thought gay people were freaks and I definitely thought that like trans people were freaks and like I just wanted to be this person who was a little different but like wasn't like them, right?
Yeah.
And so I met this woman and she was pretty normal for a gay person, had a job, had parents who loved her, blah 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 and she made it okay for me to be gay with my family and really kind of saw me where I was at the time and so I sort of went in that direction and I went into that relationship and I was sort of seen enough and
Hmm.
certainly seen more than I had been seen by my birth family. So I was like, oh, okay. Um, and then, like we were talking before, like I was in that relationship for almost 16 years
Yeah.
and I sort of grew as much as I felt allowed to grow. And again, it wasn't overt rejection. It just wasn't overt support and I'd had a child with this person and I loved this person and she loved me um but I was really feeling like I'm not fully me in this
Yeah.
relationship and it wasn't about gender exactly, it was just like I don't I feel like I'm getting smaller every day
Mm.
in this relationship and so
Yeah.
um it was real. I mean it's like totally like a made for TV movie how it all actually went down.
Right.
um but I met a person who was married to a man for almost 20 years and but we started working together and to this day our both of our stories like I didn't leave because of this person but or I didn't leave for this person, but I left because of this person. This person showed me what I wasn't getting.
Right.
And, we had no idea if we were going to actually, if it was going to work out that we could be together or that it would even work out to be together.
Sure.
um, but we sort of collided at this time in both of our marriages where we were like, wow, I live with a nice person who, you know, is great and is a lovely person and a good friend. And, we have adventures and whatever. But like, this person is not magnifying my soul. This person is not helping me do my spiritual work. Like, I don't know what your story is about, like why you're in relationship with people, but I have a lot to do, I feel like karmically on this spin. And
Yes, you do, my
I
friend.
wasn't I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then it turned out that being seen showed me a lot of stuff that I wasn't looking at. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, like I'm I'm really rejecting whole parts of myself to fit in various places. And with the support of this other person now, who's my primary person in my life, I'm I want to be who I am. I want to find out who that is, and then I want to really embody that.
Yeah.
And so a good friend from college, he fully transitioned, had top surgery, and maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, he's like, "Oh, I'm having top surgery." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing! Like, tell me all about it." Um, and then I started going like, "Oh," like I had not thought about top surgery in 15, 20 years maybe. Because when I couldn't afford it and it didn't fit in my 20s, I was like, "Pff, that's not a thing."
Yeah.
Um, but when my friend did it, I was like, "Oh, is that a thing I want to do? Maybe." And then I just like was like, "Yep." Like in the next couple of months, I just took the steps and found a great surgeon, talked to some other friends who had had surgery, and it could not have gone better. Um, the surgery was incredible. I joke like I don't know why I waited so long, but I feel like it happened exactly correctly. Like,
Yeah.
because I couldn't do the hormones and couldn't do the surgery 20 some years before, I had to spend that time in that body
Right.
still figuring out who I was. And
Yeah.
then the surgery was like the icing on the cake. It was like, "Oh, the inside already feels this way.
Hmm.
Let's, get
Right.
rid of these boobs." And I was like, "Sweet."
Yeah.
Um
Wasn't that
and
just one of the best days ever?
oh my
I
God.
mean, it really was. I just tell people all the time, it's like it's my, still my time. And I've had children. I mean, I
Oh
didn't
my
have
gosh,
them,
right?
but I've
No,
adopted children. I have
yes.
moments. I've had my wedding day. I've had, but my boobs coming off.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you,
Completely.
man, it's
Not
the
a day
best
of
day
regret.
ever. Never,
Yes.
never.
No. And
I
I
mean,
I love my
I
surgeon because, she so I got my surgery at this like plastic surgery center, outpatient center in a strip mall in Maryland.
yeah,
Um
I got mine on
she
Park Avenue in New York City.
See, yeah, she does like lip fillers and breast aug. She does all the other plastic
Yeah.
surgery stuff, but she's got a pretty solid niche of people that she does top surgery for.
Hmm.
And when I went in for my triage, I said, "So, like, why do you do this?" And she's been doing it for like 20 years. And she
Hmm.
said, I had a person come to me and say they wanted this surgery like 20 years ago, and I hadn't done this before. And she's like, I did my homework and I talked to other people who had done the surgery and just kind of like looked this up. And she was like, "Okay, well, I'm a good surgeon. Like, I can do this is a mastectomy,
Right.
essentially. I can do
Yes,
this." And she said, her trans patients are her happiest patients. She
that is
said,
for sure.
"Every time my patients come back in after their surgeries, no one else that I do any of my procedures for looks the way my trans patients look." And
Wow.
that's why I do it, because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm giving people to themselves. And like, who gets to do
Oh,
that for a job? And I was
oh
like,
my
I
God.
you do, you
That's
do.
great. I'm giving people to themselves. Oh my
Totally.
God, what a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Right?
was amazing. Totally.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
So
Congratulations on being able to get that done.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that we've moved in the world where you didn't have to go on testosterone for a year, first live on hormones and pass as a male for a year, because that's what I had to do, is pass as a male for a year on no hormones, then
Wow.
go on hormones for a year and a half before I could get a letter to say I could have surgery. Like it was a
Yeah. Well, the gatekeeping is still somewhat intact because this was a total like I just figured, okay, like I'm a grown ass person.
right,
Whatever I can pay for this, I'm going to go
right.
in and
Yeah.
whatever. And so they're doing all my paperwork, and the nurse says, and we'll need a letter from a mental health professional saying that like they sort of support this decision. And I was like, "What?" I have not seen a mental health professional for gender related issues for at least 15 years. Like,
Yeah.
what do we do here? And she said, well, I don't know, but there are people who will write you a letter. And I was like, all right. So I reached out to a bunch of my trans friends and I was like, and they said, oh, so and so is a social worker downtown at the Whitman Walker Clinic, whatever, they'll write you a letter. And I was like, so I'm going to go meet a person for 20 minutes so they can approve a decision about who I am.
About your body.
Yeah. So I wrote,
Right.
and I was thinking, do you do this for people who get breast augmentation? Do you do
Nope.
this for people who get Brazilian butt lifts? Like, as
Nope.
long as you're going in the direction of the culturally approved gender identity, it's
Thank
all
you.
good.
Yep.
So I called the surgeon back and I said, listen, I can get this letter, but it's antithetical to why I'm getting the surgery. I
Yeah.
don't want to pay a stranger to approve of a decision that I've spent 20 plus years coming to. And
Thank you.
and she said, she's like, I totally get it. She said, we get a lot of younger people and our insurance tells us that, people change their minds and we have to have proof that you've like thought about it. She said, you can write your own letter.
Oh,
So I wrote my own letter and I just said
nice.
like, this is where I've been. This is who I am. This is why I want to
Yeah.
do this. And they were like, great, goes in your file. And, I wanted like a cupcake or a party or something because it was a really good letter.
I bet.
And I was like, did you guys get my letter? And they're like, yep, it's in your file. And I was like, with like glitter on it, I hope, or something. But yeah, so
We will publish your letter at the gender reveal party.
excellent. I will pass it on to you because
Please do.
it
We will
just,
post it
and I
with
got
your
a ton of
podcast if you would like us to.
oh, excellent. Yes, I
Yes, we
want
will.
because I want everyone to say it's like I tell people to tell their primary care provider, don't let them weigh you because the BMI is bullshit and it doesn't matter. And
That's right.
weight is not a vital sign. And I feel the same way about this. Like you should not need a mental health professional to tell
Mm-mm.
you what you want to do with your own
Mm-mm.
body.
Mm-mm.
And if you can write your own compelling story about why
Yeah.
you're, until they start asking people who want breast augmentation to write a letter or get a letter,
Amen. Yeah.
I'm not down. Yeah.
Or penis augmentation.
So, yeah,
Right.
right.
As long as you're going with
That's right.
as long as you're going with the binary, we're good. We don't need a letter.
Totally. No, that's right.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the guys who was in this panel that I was on the other day with the med student said that he really struggled with like, so he was saying he didn't struggle, and this other non-binary person on the panel said that their doctor really had a problem with like people are fine if you want to become male or you want to become female.
Right.
But if you just want to like hang out in this like liminal space,
I don't like it.
oh, I don't know about that. And it's
Mhm.
like, we just
Right.
we just got to stop the lies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
So,
and that was my experience of even trying because and I was naive, obviously, because
mhm.
I didn't know, but I
Yeah.
really believed that I could go on testosterone and still be a genderqueer. Like I really
Yeah.
believed that I could be an out trans, and I was an out
Uh-huh.
trans person. I mean, you met me for 5 minutes. I told you I was trans because
Totally.
I wanted people to know that I was a queer and that I was a trans person, that I was not a man.
Yes.
Because most of what was important to me, most of all, was that I was not a man. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes.
It wasn't that I was, and it was like I was almost resisting it too much, where it was like I was desperate. It's what you
Right.
resist persists.
No.
Right. I don't want to be seen as a
Right.
man. So guess
Yes.
what?
Yeah.
So guess what you get? So
Right.
that's why I say it's different for me now, because at least now people still see me as a man, but without the testosterone, I know I'm not a man. And I don't have
Yeah.
to, I don't have it's not the same intensity. But part of that, over time getting seen as a man, that
Yeah.
whole world of like starting to steep in that entitlement for so long,
Yes.
so pickles your brain a little bit. So
I bet.
I'm so grateful to be off the sauce.
Yeah. That's
Besides
so
the
funny.
physical part that I really love, because I feel
Yeah.
like I'm back to my old butch lesbian self
Yeah.
again. I was talking to Kimberly Keys the other day, and they identify as a genderqueer butch dyke, and I was like, well, that
Okay.
makes you a GQ butch dyke, right? And so
That's right. Exactly.
and Kimberly's always been a GQ butch dyke, so I'm like,
See?
yeah,
I
there you
mean,
go.
done.
There you go. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Good story. That's so great. I'm so glad. So, and now you're kind of still in that. I mean, the breast being gone is so much of it, right?
Oh my gosh, it was huge because I had worn, I had worn binders for, I don't know,
Right.
a couple years and
Yeah.
it was fine. you
Yeah.
know, they worked, quote
Sure.
unquote, but
Sure.
I still, I had to let the girls out every night. And,
Right.
my partner would be like, free the Arlington too. Um, but I was a C cup. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you could tell that there was, and they didn't look like pecs in the
Right.
binder,
Right.
and yeah, it feels completely different inside and out. And
Yeah.
when I did it, I told my mom, I just didn't feel right having surgery and not like telling my parents. And so
Sure.
I said, like, I've never really wanted my breasts. I'm gonna, I talked to a surgeon, blah blah blah. And they wanted to make it around like breast cancer risk, which I'm like, whatever, you're right, it's way less now, and that's one more thing we don't have to worry about. But
Sure.
you know which battles am I going to fight? But my mom's like, well, so are you planning to, like, take hormones and whatever? And I said, well, not right now, but I know myself well enough now to know, like, and I know the pressures of culture. I mean, I think this is the thing, is it's like this giant game of whack-a-mole. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. On the other side, when I still had boobs, I'm like, no, this is plenty of transition.
Right.
But now, my chest anniversary was in late January, and I'm
Right.
like, this feels like how my body has always been.
Right.
And my voice is a little higher than I want it to be.
Right.
Huh. And now, like we were talking about, there's the microdosing option, because I have depression. I modulate that with medication and taking the pill. And so it's going to be a big thing for me to like introduce testosterone into my system. But the idea that I can do it in tiny little doses instead
Yeah.
of bigger doses, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that you could stop, which is another thing that I never understood.
Right.
So, I feel like good on me waiting 20 years, because now there's all this other shit that we didn't know before.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it really never even occurred to me to stop until I identified as non-binary. And I have always identified as genderqueer and
Yeah.
always been a stand that I'm not a man, but I didn't have the words.
Right.
And at first, like a lot of people was like, they, them, are you kidding me? Whatever, young people.
Totally.
But
Totally.
I have always been speaking as I'm a genderqueer. And I
Yes.
was on stage one day saying, I don't fit in this box. I don't fit in that box. And I stepped off the stage and I was like, fuck.
Uh,
I gotta start using they them. I don't gotta, but like that makes so much sense. Like that's how I've always been. I just didn't have the words
totally.
for it. But then
Nope.
once that
Exactly.
happened and it coincided with the Me Too movement all at the same time,
Yeah.
all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, why am I on testosterone? Like I was like,
Yeah.
I had never paused to ask myself that question
Yes.
really in a long time because it had
Uh
just been a
huh.
thing I did. And then
Right.
it was like, wait a minute, why am I doing this?
Yep.
Is there I'm definitely dude enough.
Right.
I
Right.
don't need
Check.
to do any check. Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so for me it was like, and then going off, of course, was like I was at such a small dose that I had to go cold turkey because
Mm.
I was only like 0.5. You
Oh,
can't even
wow.
draw up a point smaller than
Right.
0.5, right?
Right.
And I was doing 0.5 like every 10 days or something
Oh, man.
because I
Yeah.
was already, I was already in my system so much that it was like I could miss a shot a month and I wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
I didn't even pay attention. So I just thought, oh gosh, it's gonna take me a long time before I even noticed. But it was 3 months, and 2 months in, I started my period and
Wow.
whole shebang.
Wow.
Which is what
Yeah.
people do not understand is that they
Mm-mm.
think everything is so permanent. And I've never yet met a dude. I was on testosterone for 19 years, people.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Was it 19, 17? I went up to 17 years. Okay, 17 years. Everybody said my ovaries were shut down. All the
Biology is
doctors,
powerful.
they don't know nothing.
Nope.
They don't know nothing.
Nope.
None of that. I've known so many now trans guys who've gone off testosterone to have babies
Yeah.
because they can.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
It's all in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
it's all in there. Yeah.
Yes.
So considering microdosing, and I'm glad that door's open for you and that
Yeah,
they have that kind of like, that they can do that.
definitely.
That's
Yeah.
so
Although,
cool.
I keep learning. I can't remember who I was talking. Oh, it was one of the guys on the panel said, the problem is that you have to have regular blood draws and your insurance may or may not cover those. And
Right.
so, planning ahead for like, every month or 2 months, you're paying like $300 or $400 out of pocket to make sure that your blood is, balanced.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Okay. Well, we'll
Yeah.
see. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because, once you go on testosterone, when you're on, this is how it was back in the day. And I don't know, but
Yeah.
once we started, right,
Yeah.
it was a blood draw like initially,
Uh-huh.
then a blood draw 3 months in, then 6
Okay.
months, and
Yeah.
then a year,
Hmm.
and then once a year.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
just that's all the maintenance there was. It was
Yeah.
like, I gave myself my own shots, and once a year I got my blood drawn.
Yeah. And
Check out my
it may
levels.
be like that. Like, I'll have
Yeah, I
to
don't
do
know.
a little bit of homework and see, like, I'm in Virginia. Might be
Right,
that I need to go to DC. Like,
right.
we'll see what
Yeah,
happens. But
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Tell me about, you're talking about med students. So can you talk to that a little bit? Talk about some of that work you're doing.
Yeah, well, I so you mentioned that I have been a massage therapist and
Hmm.
in since like 2005, and I'm
Right.
still licensed as a massage therapist, and I see a few clients here and there. But I in 2010 I started a nonprofit called Healwell, and we do a variety of things, but we are basically trying to solve the problem of poorly trained massage therapists and lack of massage therapists in mainstream healthcare. And so
Nice.
we partner primarily with palliative care and oncology and places where people are living with serious and chronic illness.
Yeah.
So our therapists work in hospitals in the DC area, but also in like community palliative care clinics. There are a couple of our partners are like kind of like retirement communities where people move in when they're able-bodied, but all in the same campus. You can sort of graduate care and all the way through
Yeah.
hospice. So
Yeah.
working with those folks and
Wow.
just really taking massage therapists and preparing them to be healthcare providers. That we're really taught to be service technicians,
Hmm.
and there's a lot that you miss. A lot of what we actually teach, we do a lot of interdisciplinary education, so most of our courses provide CEs for nurses, social workers, psychologists, a variety of providers, because what we're teaching is mindful communication and how to show up to suffering, and
Yeah.
how to ask questions that demonstrate that you actually want to know, and
Yeah.
how to be with the shit people say when they're living with illness, and
Yeah.
how to know that your job isn't to fix it. Your job
Yeah.
is to sit with it and to be like,
Hmm.
"Yep, it makes sense that you're afraid," or, "What can we do in this moment to make this suck a little bit less?"
Yeah, which is some of the same conversations that we're learning and needing in diversity and inclusion, right? I mean, that's
Definitely.
the same. These are
Yes.
difficult uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
Confronting our whiteness is uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
the truth
I
is not a
fucking
thing
step in
we're
it all the
down with.
time.
Oh my gosh, right?
Like, I just happened the other day on a call. I'm like, one of these. I'm like, oh fuck.
Yep.
Like, had a, it's just pervasive. So white supremacy is pervasive. It's
Oh
water we're
my
swimming
gosh, totally. Yeah, no, I mean, and that's really, um, we've been really lucky that we had the opportunity to cultivate relationships with other providers and
in.
with
Yeah,
pretty big health
brilliant
systems who
stuff,
are
buddy.
like, how do we do this? And
That's
gosh, we
brilliant.
didn't even know about that.
Good.
So
Are you also
yeah,
training them then how to talk to trans people and stuff?
we are,
That's great. Can I
yeah.
introduce you to a few health?
Oh man,
Like, do
you
you
know,
seriously though? Can people, because I am in Kansas, so
sure.
how do the people that I'm in touch with here, get in touch? Do you train people in Kansas?
Yeah, so we have a couple of things. We have an online interdisciplinary community
Okay.
called that's community.healwell.org. I'll send you the
Okay.
stuff about it so you can
Yeah,
put it in the show
please.
notes. We
Yeah.
have equity pricing, so it is a subscription service, but we try to make it so that being in there is not a barrier. And we have these conversations with primary care providers, psychologists, social workers, massage therapists, all in there kind of saying like, God, I feel really white when this happens. Like, what do we do about it? And like, we've got folks of color in there being like, yeah, either, figure that out, let me know how it works, or like,
Right.
here's what I recommend. And
Right.
every month
Yeah.
we have a theme. And so this month the theme is actually the art of apology and forgiveness. And so
Mm,
we have a couple of really great courses done by one of our social work colleagues talking about like how to apologize, which
yeah.
I feel like is how to authentically show up to our mistakes. And
Yeah.
she
Well,
just
I
does
mean,
this
it's some
great job of it.
something I teach my clients is just to use the word I apologize.
Yeah.
Don't say I am sorry. And
Yeah.
part of that is I am is such a powerful affirmation. I don't want you
Yes.
to ever affirm that you're sorry.
Right.
It's,
Right.
there's nothing
Yes.
sorry about you,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
to say I apologize is
Yes.
really like I'm owning. And so I really do my best to take, I'm human. So of course I say I'm sorry once in a while, but I mean, I do
Sure.
my best. And especially if I really want to clean something up with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and I use the words I apologize.
Yes.
Right. 'Cause it's such a powerful, it's a different thing.
It is. Well,
I'm
and
sorry
because
is almost like getting out of being responsible for it.
Definitely. Well, and can we say I was wrong?
Right. I was
That was
wrong.
wrong.
Yes, I was
You know.
that did not. And for me, and again, I'm a coach, so I really work to stay out of that world of right, wrong, good, and bad, and just to
Yeah,
go, that didn't work.
that didn't work.
Right?
Yes,
It doesn't, if I can go what works and what doesn't work, I
totally.
mean, I could talk to anybody, but
Yes.
as long as I'm coming from right, wrong, good, and bad,
It's there we
you're
are with another
screwed.
binary. Never
Right?
serves us. Yep.
Exactly.
Totally.
The binary never works.
Never
Boo to the
works.
binary.
That's right. Well, and honestly, that's why it's so hard to be people because our experience isn't binary, but
Right.
our culture busts its ass to make everything as binary as
Oh my
possible.
God, it's
And
so
so
fascinating.
if you want to be with nuance, good fucking luck to you because there's
Right.
nobody around who wants to embrace that.
Right. And isn't
So,
gender so nuanced?
oh
And
my
that's what I keep trying
gosh,
to tell people. It's like art. And the
it
more
is.
authentic I get at, the more authentic I become in my own skin, the more I love myself more than anything. Cause I'm writing a new, I was starting to say I'm writing a new book because I have kind of announced to my assistant and some folks I was writing a book, but I'm not. I'm writing a new pamphlet
Ah, yes, excellent.
because Emmett Fox is my favorite New Thought um, author. He's like one of my
Okay.
favorite mentors. Our son is named after a lot of people, but in my little world, he's also named after Emmett Fox, spelled
Uh-huh.
the same way. But Emmett Fox wrote pamphlets. And in 5 pages, Emmett Fox will just knock your socks off. So I'm writing a new pamphlet. But the
Okay.
whole premise of the pamphlet is about, self-compassion as a spiritual practice
Yeah.
and really understanding that my true, I tease people all the time about the fact that I'm a little salty, right?
Uh-huh.
And that my nature is that I'm a little salty, but
Uh-huh.
the truth is the truth. There's only one truth as far as I know, and that truth is that my true nature is love,
Yep.
and that's who I am.
Yeah.
And that when I'm aligned with that, then and what's happened to me in this new practice of self compassion is I'm starting to see myself as others see me,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
so profound and almost hard to
Mm.
be with.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the more in alignment, then the more freedom I have to express myself in any way I want. And that's where
Definitely.
this whole podcast, I mean, everything is just like, I'm just going to do what I want.
Well,
'Cause,
and the thing that's so
I'm here to have
exciting to
fun.
me, like, so you and I, like, I mean, I joke sometimes, like, I'm the freak of the week. When you see me, you know that
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
different, right?
Right.
But I feel like we will have sort of made progress when the suburban cisgendered housewife is like, wait a minute, huh? Sometimes this doesn't match.
Right.
And that you don't have to be a gender queer freakazoid
No,
to
that's why
to
we're doing this
embrace
show.
your authentic self. Like gender exists for all of us. My partner who is
You
a
just spoke the theme of this show, buddy. Like that is exactly why we're doing this.
that's it.
Exactly.
My partner gets
Exactly.
so mad that nobody ever wants to talk to her because she's just a cute cisgendered
Right.
girl.
Right.
And she's like,
Yeah.
why don't people want to talk to me? Like, just because I'm with the weirdo, I have
Right.
things to say, and
Yeah,
people don't
absolutely.
see me
Well, we're happy to
because
have
I
her on this
look
show.
straight. Oh, I should tell her.
And
She has lots of things to
I
say.
also I have several cis women coming on because in my show, one of the things I very much talk about is being classically trained female and how much
Yes.
that
Woo.
classic training of female. And then once I became a dude, because I am now in a mode of being able to this other podcast. I have a friend that came on recently was talking about how we're not allowed to say I was this, then I'm that, right? Well, I
Right.
was a woman, then I was a butch, and then I was a trans butch, and then whether I went kicking and screaming into it, I turned into a man for a little bit.
Yep.
Right. And
Yeah.
then I went, no, I don't want to do that. And I never wanted to do that. And that was when it was like, wait a minute, I gotta back up here.
Yeah.
This isn't who I really am. But having touched on that and very clearly understand that white male privilege and the classic male training that we get, we're
Yep.
having conversations with cis folks because we want to talk about all forms of gender. We want to talk about all the experiences, and the main reason is we want to set people free. We
Yes.
really do. We want to set
Yes.
people free and let them
Well,
just fly their freak flag.
and we don't know we're not free. Like one of the things that my
That's it.
partner and I do, we teach this course called Dismantling Whiteness. And in
Yeah.
our last cohort, we had, I think it was all suburban white women.
Mhm.
And in week 3, we introduced the idea of joy and liberation, and that like our ultimate goal in this work is actually joy and liberation. And they were so unwilling to acknowledge the lack of joy in their lives. They
Oh.
were so committed to this idea that my life is great. I have tons of joy. I'm good. I'm free. And I'm like, really? Because you look repressed.
I was like, could you
You,
turn your
you're
face?
your language is
I
real
know,
repressed, and like,
right?
but we're so committed to this, and this idea, of course, that, well, you know, black people have suffered, and so it's now my turn to suffer. And I'm like, no, that's
Right.
not how it works.
No, it's not about, there's not, we could all have joy, like all of
We could
us.
all have joy. There's
We could all
it's
get there.
limitless.
It's
Yes.
limitless because our
Totally.
true nature is love. So if we really tap
Yes.
into that,
That's it.
right?
Just
Yeah.
peel off. Yep.
Yeah. Peel it off. And that's one of the things too, whenever I thought about having you on the shows, like that's, and I wasn't sure where you were with the palliative care, but that's something you and I had in common, I know, is that, I've escorted several people to the other side, and it's something I take great, like joy in, which is weird.
No,
You
no,
know
it's
what I mean?
not
Like, I think
weird.
you're the one of the few people that get that. Like, it's
Yes.
something I'm proud of,
Yep.
and that I can take care of people when they're dying, like,
Yeah.
and having those CNA skills. In fact, I started looking into it recently because I'm like, I don't know, in my retirement, maybe I just want to go back and being a CNA and taking care of people when they die, before they
Yeah.
die, because being a
Totally.
CNA in a nursing home for me for 3 years changed my life in such a way. Like,
I
and
bet.
one of the things that really got to me on the testosterone was I felt like I couldn't access some of that level of deep compassion that I had as a CNA, just being able to
Interesting.
be with people, right? Like just being able to be that
Yeah.
love. So I've really felt like the more I get back into my old self again, that's so much of that is right there for me. And it's so much easier. I worked after I did a nursing home, I worked in a place for adults with developmental disabilities for, like I've always been able to dial
Yeah.
in that kind of compassionate care.
Yeah.
Um, and I know that you and I have that in common, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. No, I think if you have snuggled up to your own unsavory bits and you have an intimate relationship with the parts of you you wish didn't exist,
Yeah,
you can do that for other people,
that's
and you
right.
do that with other people, and
That's
and
right.
that's not everybody.
That's right. And the new
Yeah.
book that I'm working on is really designed in the idea that every way we are, no matter what it is, we've
Yep.
wired ourselves up for safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
About
Yeah.
safety.
And a little less safety, not a capital S
No, no,
safety.
no,
Like a
and no, and some people have had trauma, but even
sure.
wiring yourself up to not have disappointment, or to
Yeah.
not have shame, or to not have whatever it is, we've wired ourselves
Unpleasantness.
up. So the initial premise is that, but then the idea is, if that's the case, if you can really get that, then how can you not have a compassion for that?
Right.
Like all the
Right.
ways you're stupid and ornery and dumb and fuck up things and step in things and embarrass yourself, and
Yep.
like all those things, right? All
Yes.
that you did just to stay safe.
Yeah.
Can you
Yep.
love yourself through that? Then that gave me some space when I started getting, oh wow,
Oh yeah,
like
look at that.
I could have some separation there and see some, it gave me access to a whole new piece. But that's part of it, is that whole, like, I get this. Whoa, this is all about safety.
Absolutely. Well, and
Every
like
bit of it.
you're in there. Like
Yeah.
your true nature, this like expansive
Right.
thing is
Yeah.
underneath all this
Oh yeah.
stuff. So
Under no.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
start
When I
peeling
started
it off.
my spiritual practice, back when when I had a traumatized child, uh, special needs child, my mom just died. The cousin I just donated a kidney to died.
Ugh.
Like, I had to learn to meditate.
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting still, and even understanding that I had an inner being, an inner presence that is connected to everything.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like, whoa. Once you start touching that, then like that's where that's where you get. I mean, that's why I know we're all connected. It's all love thing.
Absolutely.
And even
Yeah.
though all these work, there's all this stuff stirring up. Texas has got all these laws spilling out and everywhere. I am holding the line for love. I'm going to stay in my
Yep.
lane. I'm going to hold the
Yep.
line for love. I'm going to love the transphobia out of you people
Yep. Oh man.
and make you
Yep.
love us. That's why I have people like you on, because they're just going to love you.
That's right. Yep. You'll see it's making you small. I don't need to tell you. You'll get there.
Right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Perfect. 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 Is there any last words you'd like to share, and where can we find you and all that good stuff?
Well, definitely, come on out to healwell.org,
Excited about
HEALWELL,
that.
and yeah, and come check out the community. You can join for a month and see if you like it. You could dive in for the whole year, and we also have just tons of courses that anybody can take. There, we use an equity pricing structure, so if you're a healthcare provider, chances are real good you'll get some CE out of it. But if you're a lay person who just wants to learn about bias or communication or apology or forgiveness or any of
Uh,
that stuff, we've got tons of courses. And I have a little blog, and I do some speaking, so I'm at calcates.com. And
nice.
I rant about gender and racism and various things. And
Yeah.
I don't have a regular blog schedule, but when something bites me in the ass, I put a blog up there, and sometimes lots of people read them, and sometimes my mom reads them.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what's important, is it, Mom?
that's right.
Right.
That's right,
Keep
totally.
opening up that conversation with Mom.
Exactly.
And that's always been my theory. People have asked me so many times. It's like, because I'm the youngest at 9. I've got 27 nieces and nephews, 28 great nieces and nephews. I mean, it's
Man.
just, they're exponential. And some of them are
Yes.
really conservative. And so they're like, how do they handle the blend? I was like, I just keep showing up and loving them.
Yep,
And I
same.
won't go away.
Nope.
So
Right.
eventually they get over it.
Yeah,
And they just are
exactly.
like, I'm fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, and when you can do it without losing yourself, I think that's the work that I've done probably over the last 20 some years. It's like, okay, so I want these people in my life. I don't want to shut anybody out,
Mhm.
but I also don't want to shut me out in order to keep
Right.
this relationship going. And so what does that look like? And it's totally a spiritual practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Love you, friend.
Love you, friend. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
Good work.
Yeah. Good stuff. This episode is brought to you by a new online art platform that I want to share with you called Fire and Bliss Creative. Fire and Bliss is the only, that I know of anyway, art platform that focuses on LGBTQ plus and Black and Indigenous people of color and their allies exclusively. And so every single art print on Fire and Bliss has been created by a diverse independent artist who maintains full control over their art and over their profit. So you can shop my curated collection at www.fireandbliss.com/reveal. And most importantly, go shop there and then use the coupon REVEAL. When you check out, use the coupon REVEAL for 20% off. So please check out fireandbliss.com and support them and thank them for supporting us. Thanks. Hey, thanks for listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I hope you loved it. And if you did, would you take a second and go do all the things like subscribe, rate, review, tell all your friends? Apparently, if you do that, the podcast platforms are more likely to share it. And if you think these stories are important, please take 3 minutes to just go do that. I'd really appreciate it. Also, I'd love to connect with you on social. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm at the Gender Reveal Party, and on Twitter, I'm at Pryor J. It's a real joy and privilege to bring you this podcast. Come back soon. Love you, bye.